Hi, I'm Andy Brewerton from CA Technologies, and I'm responsible for the ARCserve brand across Europe and Asia Pac. Well, ARCserve is our brand of products for disaster recovery and high availability. So we look after the small and medium-sized companies and kind of push up into the mid-range, really making sure that people's data is available, that business-critical systems are running, and that really businesses carry on as normal. Well, I'm here really just to talk about a survey that we ran during the summer, which was called the Avoidable Cost of Downtime. And we went out across Europe and spoke to about 1,800 different companies, so it's a big survey. And we talked to them about what their last outage was, what caused it, and kind of what the impact that had on their business, their customers, and actually, interestingly enough, the staff morale. And we were really surprised. What we found out was that across Europe as a whole, in the 11 countries we spoke to, we're roughly seeing about a loss in revenue of about 17 billion euros a year, which is a massive number. So that kind of equates to, I think, about 23% of the European budget, or 4 times as much as BP are spending on cleaning up the Gulf, which is very interesting. Across the different countries and across the different verticals within each country, we saw, sometimes very surprising results. So for instance, on an initial look, you could take a view that Italian customers appeared not to be adopting technology, appeared not to be investing in disaster recovery. But when we actually dove in deeper, it was that the makeup of the organizations in Italy are, there's not very many extremely large organizations. There's an awful lot proportionally of smaller organizations, and they don't have so much compliance, and they don't have the concept of service level agreement. And so therefore recovery time isn't necessarily so high on their agenda. Whereas in the UK, for instance, we noticed that UK companies actually tend to take longer to make systems available and to recover data. So their loss per company, average loss per company during an outage, is quite high. So from our perspective, what we would like to then go and talk to these organizations about is really about the speed of recovery. It's about looking at new technologies, looking at whether it's replication technologies, embedding in things like continuous data protection to try and minimize the amount of data they're losing, but also achieve the maximum uptime. And I think that's kind of the nirvana that most organizations are looking for these days. We're kind of blessed in some way that backup and recovery is not too vertically focused. So our customer base works across finance, public sector, manufacturing, retail, and they just have slightly different challenges. So some are very interested in backing up and recovering remote offices, particularly in retail, where there's lots of stores and warehouses. Others have really mission-critical, high-profile business applications, such as finance. There's a lot of online banking, of course, which is if you have a failure there. So our products really sit in the background, like an assurance policy, really, that the inevitable is going to happen. There'll be an outage, whether it's a loss of some files, whether it's a logical corruption of data, or whether it's a server failing. And we sit there, we monitor the situation. We enable organizations to fail their application over to an alternate disaster recovery site, or just run a more traditional recovery and bring the data back from tape or disk and present it back to the user. So we have a product-specific landing page, which is www.arcserve.com, and there you'll find all the information about the survey and obviously about our complete product range.